What do the following things have in common? Honey, the Denver Broncos, Nigeria, Colorado, agriculture, and whiskey. These seemingly unrelated things are indeed connected by a company called Goldswarm and the company's owner, Omar Lababidi. I'm Courtney Drake McDonough, the publisher of the RealFoodTraveler.com website and host of the Real Food Traveler podcast. I'm happy to welcome Omar to our show today to see how all of these things are related and tie together into a very Colorado story. Welcome, Omar.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you for having me.
I know you're in town doing quite a few media events, so I'm really glad that we get to be part of that. So let's start by talking about what the company is, what Goldswarm Honey is all about.
Goldswarm Honey is about bringing a beautiful brand to the American market and a beautiful product, a sustainable product, increasing customer choice with story that folds into my story, my Colorado story, my Nigeria story. And so the in its very essence is beauty as a product, beauty as a story, beauty as something to contribute to nature, from nature to society. So that's the big overarching theme of what Goldswarm is and what I hope it represents.
That's a lot. That's a lot and important things. So what does Goldswarm mean?
Goldswarm literally as a name is like gold, and then swarm being, as how bees swarm, but rather than a negative connotation in a positive connotation of just the largeness and the coming together of lots in a very golden way and sort of being enveloped by gold. And so we felt that name projected that sense of warmth and sophistication, a reflection of the color of the honey itself, which has a very unique color and texture.
Right. So what led you to get into the honey business?
Well, it was kind of almost random. My family background has been agro-industrial, and I was working the forest in Benin, and we are camping out. And for breakfast, it was toast and honey, bread and honey. And they literally just brought it from the trees next door, wherever we were camping, and it blew my mind. Like I literally had that sensation in the back of your mouth and my head where you have all this tingling, and my body was reacting to like, what is this? And they said, it's honey. I'm like, no, this isn't honey. Like, it's something else. And so I said to myself, this is such an incredible, beautiful product that sitting here in Africa, Nigeria, West Africa at least, and hopefully one day I'll be the one to get this beautiful story out to the United States and to the world, because Nigeria in particular, most of the stories you hear that come out of Africa and Nigeria are usually very negative stories. And so I found a beautiful product and I wanted to be the one to bring that out.
So what was that feeling that you were feeling that was not typical of honey you were used to?
I was an actual physical reaction of like warmth and peppery and texture and just the whole sensation of my palate lighting up and having this overall feeling of joy that I'd really get from a food. And also even now when I have it, it's tasting nature, tasting West Africa, tasting West Africa in particular, just the flora, the fauna, and having that incredibly this connection to Mother Earth and to Africa and that soil. It's really incredible that automatic sensation.
Mm-hmm. Wow, interesting. Can you talk about the process, including the amount of time it takes for the honey to be harvested in Nigeria to it being available for sale here in Colorado?
There's about two cycles. I mean, it takes all year. So there's a debating season that takes about 6 months for when it's ready. So from Nigeria, like the harvesting is in basically the first half of the year. It would spring over here. So February, March, April is the ideal harvesting time. And then it's maybe about a month or so to collect and then to get down to the ports, to filter, and the whole logistics process to get to the port, and then probably another couple of weeks to ship to the United States and then get it bottled here. So from harvest is probably roughly speaking about 2 months from the hive to the consumer, roughly.
You tout ethical, bee-friendly practices. Can you tell us what that entails?
It begins with the farmer and that it's all organic, it's all from the forest and working with smallholder farmers and then teaching them the right ways to do it and so that they don't do any additives. It's one of the big problems today with a lot of honey around the world is the bees are fed and either with sugars or with other honey or other additives. We don't do that. And so we make sure to teach farmers that they don't feed and that there's no adulteration in our honey so that it's as pure as it can be. And then also like a small little thing is we make sure that there's enough left in the hive for the bees so they can feed on in their combs. Because a lot of times if you pull out the comb too much and they have nothing to feed on, how do you restart, the hive? So we make sure there's that cycling of comb and the hives so that the bees can stay and feed in that area which they've gotten used to, because the last thing you want is them to leave that area, because then you have to start all over and then they go searching. And since we're working very closely with the forest, and smallholder farmers, we're out there making sure that the area that they're feeding in is the most like natural, far from industry, far from pollutants, as the bees can feed. And since we work with about 2,000 farmers at least across Nigeria, and hopefully many more, we're all over the country to make sure that the hives are well placed and that the bees feed as naturally as possible.
You just alluded to my next question and maybe completely answered it. And this is something I've always wondered. Does pesticide-free honey mean that the bees are pollinating pesticide-free
Yes,
flowers? And if
yes,
so,
yes.
how do you control that they stay where you want them to stay amongst those
Well,
flowers?
you can't control the bees. They go where they want. So you have to sort of plan which areas you're going to, which farmers you're partnering with. So there's a whole process with understanding the local farmer as well. And then also not dealing with certain farmers who have bad practices. So by placing our hives in where we know that it's like truly in nature, then that takes care of itself.
For those of us who have heard the term raw honey but aren't really sure what that means, can you explain what raw honey is?
Raw honey is really straight from the hive. So there's no heating process, there's no pasteurization. So all we do is filter it, and you're getting it straight from the hive and from the honey. So it can't be as direct from nature to the consumer as possible.
And so, what products does Goldswarm offer?
But right now we have the honey in the 12 ounce. We're also packaging it in an individual, like a single serve called Snap Pack for which is good for travel, single serve for fitness. There's also the beeswax, which we're doing for candles and getting into for mascaras and makeups. We're also getting into drinks. So we've launched or in partnership with Breckenridge Distillery, we have the Denver Bronco honey whiskey, which I'm very excited about, very very proud of. And down the line, we'll also hopefully have other honey-based drinks, not alcoholic and non-alcoholic as well. So there's a whole range of things, and it's really incredible once you start digging into honey world, how many products that come from honey, and really how critical the bees are to nature and to our livelihoods. And so it's really important to promote bees and getting that production out in a healthy, sustainable way.
And we're going to talk in more detail about the whiskey in a little bit, but where can people purchase your products?
People can purchase the products on Amazon right now or at our website, so goldswarm.com, and it's all available for sale in the United States.
Oh, okay, so that was going to be my next question throughout the
Throughout
US.
the US, yes.
Okay, great. So now let's do talk about that that whiskey, your connection to Breckenridge Distillery. What is it that you've created together?
Well, I brought the honey and they had product. So through a partner, they reached out and said, "We love your honey. Would you be interested in us trying for a product?" And I said, "Absolutely." And then when they said, "Well, we'd love to do it for our Denver Bronco honey," I said, "100%. Please, 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 please do that." And so when they came back and they said that they loved the product and that it gave it their whiskey, their honey whiskey, its own flavor, and that they'd never tasted anything like that, I was so happy because that's exactly what I'm talking about. And what I referenced earlier is that this honey, it has its really own unique flavor that whether even if you're having the honey as honey or now into a whiskey, it comes across. And so it's very special. It's a very special product. And so I was happy that it was being recognized not by an amazing company like Breckenridge, but then you add on top of it that it's the Denver Bronco whiskey, which is particularly meaningful to me.
Yeah, so explain that. Explain the Denver Bronco connection.
My grandfather, my mom's dad, he was one of the founders of the Denver Broncos in the 60s with the original group. He was there, he was a lawyer, had shares, and then when it was first sold, I think it was second sold to in 1980. So I grew up with, hearing about the Denver Broncos every summer, going to the games, going to the camps and so on and so forth, and just being my heroes. And so the Denver Broncos has been part of my life, what in Nigeria and Egypt and everywhere as my favorite team in the world. And also, I consider myself the number one fan in Nigeria and maybe in Africa. I'd go as far to say even Africa.
I thought you were going to say in the US
Well,
and
I
that
think I think I get some competition for that one.
yeah,
So like I'll
yeah.
I'll, I'll work my way up to that claim.
Those would be fighting words,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly,
sure.
exactly.
Yeah. Do you know how the honey whiskey is made? Like, I don't understand the process of, incorporating honey in whiskey making.
They have a process for distilling it, and that's also what makes the drink so unique is they're not adding the honey, they're actually distilling the whiskey straight from the honey, so you're getting true honey taste in through the liquid.
Wow, interesting. How would you describe the flavor?
The flavor, it's robust. You get that tingle in the back of your mouth, that liquid gold flavor of just that it sort of fills your palate.
Wow. Is there a certain way you and Breckenridge suggest people drink it?
Breckenridge actually came up with a cocktail, but myself, I like it on ice. I'll take it straight because I love that taste of the honey that coming through.
Okay, all right. And where can people get the honey whiskey?
I believe it's available in retail, in regional retail. They look up where Breckenridge sells it.
Okay, and what's the proper name of it again?
Denver Bronco honey whiskey.
Okay, okay. It's a limited edition offering. So do you know how long it'll be available?
For this season.
Bronco
Yeah, the
season?
Bronco season.
Oh, okay.
And
All right.
but we're working on doing more products, so like an out of season, a non Broncos Breckenridge honey. For now, it's for the Denver Bronco season.
Okay. And is that regardless of how well the season goes?
Well, I'd like to say that with our honey, the season will go very well.
Okay. From your mouth,
Yeah.
right? Um, so without giving away any secrets, are you looking to partner with any other companies in Colorado or elsewhere?
Yeah, actually, our packer is Colorado based as well. So I'm so happy with the Breckenridge start is it allows me to be part of the Colorado community, not just as coming to visit, but on a business level and on a social level. So there's a lot of partnerships that I'm hoping to build upon here in Colorado, beginning with through the Breckenridge and our packers. And I mean, funny enough, the U.S. National Honey Board is based here in Colorado. So
Oh,
yeah.
I did not know that. Tell us a little bit. I know you have the connection to your grandfather, but did you live here a long time? And how does Nigeria and Egypt come into your life?
So I was born in Estes Park and then grew up in Nigeria and Egypt. And then I would come back for all my summers and spend my summers here in Colorado. It would be with up in Estes Park with my grandmother, Estes Park, Boulder, Denver, throughout the summers, and then back to Nigeria. And up until I was about 13. And then I went to Egypt for high school. And then after high school in Egypt, I came back to the US for my undergrad at Georgetown, which is why I know McDonough because the school there is the McDonough School of Business at Georgetown.
Hmm.
And then otherwise, then went back to Nigeria as an adult and have been there pretty much since 2001, other than coming back for different degrees, master's degrees in the United States, but otherwise have been in Nigeria since and coming back to the US, coming back to Colorado.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. So, for people who want to know more about Goldswarm honey, where would you like to direct them in terms of website and also social media?
The website's the best, goldswarm.com. And then our IG hashtag is goldswarm honey. And then there's always the Amazon page. Those are the three main.
So, there isn't a storefront anywhere,
No,
a physical brick and
no
mortar. Okay.
physical. No, we're purely digital at this point.
Okay. Great. Well, as always with our Real Food Traveler podcast, we have an associated article on the realfoodtraveler.com website where you'll literally be able to push a button to listen to this podcast, but you'll also see a photo of Omar, so you know who I've been talking to, as well as photos that he has provided very generously about the operation in Nigeria, the beautiful honey, the processes, and the products that result from it. We'll also have a live link to the Goldswarm Honey website and to Omar's Instagram page so that you can follow along there. And the Real Food Traveler podcast is always available pretty much everywhere you like to listen to your podcasts. So my thanks again to Omar, and my thanks to the Real Food Traveler podcast listeners, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for giving me the time and the platform. I really appreciate it.